So here are 10 reasons why you should not become a real estate agent. I know your family and friends keep telling you, oh, you should do that. You could totally do it. You watch HGTV, you're watching $1 Million Listing, and you're like, I could be the next Josh Altman. I'm gonna buy a Lambo, I'm gonna have the hot girls on both sides of my arm. I'm here to tell you that's just not really the way that it works. And I'm gonna break down for you the 10 reasons today why you should not become a realtor and what it's like behind the scenes. All right, so let's jump right in. Reason number 1, uncertain income. This is a real one. So everybody thinks you're gonna come in and make $100,000 or more in your first year. Look, it's possible. But I tell people all the time, you break into luxury real estate usually doing it one of 3 ways. Either you were born into it, meaning that you're already in a wealthy family, or you were handed a business from a family member, maybe your mom or your dad or your aunt or somebody was already a real estate agent and they handed you a book of business, which is really sweet, but doesn't really happen to most of us. Or you do it the way the rest of us do it, which is literally you build a business from the ground up. And that takes a while. You need to have a nest egg saved up for at least 9 to 12 months and expect that you're not gonna get your first commission probably in that first 6 months. It'll happen in your last 6 months of your first year. So do you have enough money saved up in order to be able to make sure that you can get that far through your licensing, your course, your first year in real estate in order to survive as a real estate agent? Because in reality, in order to survive at this and do really well, you need to be doing this full time. Yes, there are ways to do this part-time. I started out part-time as well, but I also had another career that could float me very well for a period of time that I didn't have to worry about making a ton of money in real estate. So you need to think about that. The consistency of the income is challenging, and the time you make your first commission also takes a while as well. So consistency is the hard part, right? You might close the first deal in 3 or 4 months, but then you might not see your next commission for another 6 or 8 months after that. Because what's really important in real estate is prospecting or lead generation. You need to constantly be doing that every single day in order to make sure that your pipeline is full. And what most real estate agents fall into is a peaks and valleys situation, which means that I'm lead generating, I have a whole bunch of deals I'm gonna close, and then I'm really busy, and because I'm so busy, I can't lead generate because I'm not on showings and inspections and appraisals. So you stop lead generating when you're at that busy point, and because those deals then close, you end up at the trough, where now you have another 3 months or 6 months where you don't close a deal, and you live like this. That is not a way you can survive with a family, with a spouse, with a mortgage, car payments. You need to make the real estate business as predictable and steady in income as you possibly can. Obviously, there's going to be peaks and valleys because of the seasonality of real estate, but if you can close listings 12 months of the year or buyers 12 months of the year, that'll be a sustainable income that you can actually depend upon. So number 2 is high competition, and this is a reality. We're sitting here in 2023. In January of this year, there were 1.5 million realtors in the United States. There was also only 1.3 million homes for sale in the country. Easy math. There were more realtors than there were homes to sell. So you need to get unfair share, right? In order to survive in this business and not do 3 to 5 transactions a year like the average realtor, you need to do dozens. How do you do that when there's less than 1 house for every listing agent or every agent in general? That means you need to work really hard and build a business. There's a ton of competition. So in New Jersey alone, I think in 2023, we're up to about 45,000 licensed realtors. That means I can spit and probably hit another realtor who lives on my block, who lives in the same town around the corner from me. And it happens all the time, right? You could probably ask the same question to family members and find out you have 2 or 3 people in your extended family that carry a real estate license. That's the key difference. And I get haters for this all the time, but there's a difference between having a real estate license and being a professional realtor. Because again, people have licenses for a variety of different reasons. Maybe you're an investor and you want to have access to the MLS. Maybe you're an appraiser and you have to have access to the MLS. Maybe you're a part-time real estate agent that you like doing it as a side hustle to cover your vacation money. Or maybe you're really a true real estate professional dedicating your career to this over the course of decades, in which case you're gonna make more money and do more deals every year, and you have to find a way to separate yourself from the crowd to do that. Number 3 is wacky work hours. It's super unpredictable as a career, and I love when I meet with new agents who are thinking about either joining real estate as a career or joining our team, and I ask them, what's the number 1 reason why you decided to become a realtor? And they say, flexible schedule. It's flexible if you think 24/7 is flexible. But the one cool thing about it is there is some flexibility, meaning that you can kind of predict your schedule. If you can't take a client out from 4 to 6 in the evening because you have your daughter's recital, that's your decision to make, right? And yes, the client might choose to go with a different realtor, but you can predict that part of it. But at the same time, it is a career that demands all of you all the time. So because it's very easy to be reached on a cell phone, and this is how we do most of our business, it's a 24/7 job. What you have to learn to do are two things. First of all, you have to set predictable hours for yourself and maintain your schedule. So if you want to spend time with your family, you need to make sure you shut your phone off at 7 o'clock at night or whatever time you set for yourself, and honor that to make sure that you give 100% of who you are to whatever you're working on. When you're working, give 100% to your clients. When you're home, give 100% to your family. Nobody wants to have you at the dinner table answering phone calls, talking about deals. And I speak from experience. My kids have said that to me as well. We made a rule in the building part of our business in the beginning. I took those phone calls and I explained to our children that if you wanted to go to Disney World, Daddy has to make this phone call. That's how you get paid. That's how I'm surviving. That's how I'm maintaining our lifestyle. Now, as I've gotten older and more tenured in my career, I can set those timelines a little bit differently now and say, look, I don't answer my phone after 7 o'clock. If it's an urgent issue, you can call X on my team to handle that for me. So it may not start that way, but that's what you can get to in the end. The second part of the crazy work schedule is making sure that you're disciplined. This is not a career for someone who is not a self-starter. If you are not self-disciplined, if you can't work an 8 or 10 hour day with no one supervising you, with no one telling you what you need to do at home by yourself, and actually get up, get dressed, and do what you need to do, don't even start. Because that is exactly what your life is going to look like as a real estate agent. There's not going to be anyone holding your hand, giving you the manual of what this looks like. Yes, if you join a team like ours, we have systems and procedures to help predict exactly what that's going to look like. But if you're starting out on your own, you're going to be alone a lot of the time. And if you're not dedicated to being a self-starter and self-disciplined person, you're going to have a really hard time getting the business off the ground. Number 4 is a personal favorite of mine. That is handling client expectations. So the best part of this job, what I love most about it, is that every single day is entirely different. That's the thing that makes me most excited, is that I don't have the same day 2 days in a row ever. I love the constantly changing pace. I love the constantly changing environment. But if that's not your thing, if you like predictability, this might not be for you. You're gonna have a very diverse group of clients, and that doesn't necessarily mean ethnicities, although it should. It means that you're gonna have people who are type A, you're gonna have people who are beta, you're gonna have people who are more submissive, and that might even be in the same family, and you're trying to juggle all those personalities together. You have to learn how to navigate those really tricky waters on every deal in a different way. How do you make sure that everybody feels valued, that their voice feels heard, and you're not stepping on one person's toes over another? How do you figure out who's the real decision maker in that process if it doesn't appear that way? Maybe it's not the wife, maybe it is actually the husband, but how do you make sure that they both feel valued while you help them mediate whatever problems they're having? And that's the second part of this too, which is you need to become a therapist. So forget about just becoming a salesperson, a marketing person, a social media person. You have to wear all these different hats. You are going to be a therapist and a marriage counselor if you do this job well. You have usually two opposites, right? Because that's what makes a good couple or a good business partnership, is one person's gonna be one personality and the other person's gonna be the opposite to balance them out. But they have different wants and needs. So if the wife wants the bathroom that has the soaking tub so she can have candles and rose petals when she comes home from work, and the husband says, that's not a priority to me, I would rather have a smaller house that's closer to downtown that has a garage, whatever those two things are, how do you make sure that both of those people's desires are met and that you're not pissing one person off while trying to make the other person happy, and in the end, they don't do the deal because both people aren't happy? So managing clients' expectations are really hard, and also making sure you're communicating to your clients often enough. Your clients should hear from you every 48 hours, depending upon what their priority and what their motivation is in the process. Make sure that their priority and their expectations match how much you're communicating back to them. Number 5, I shouldn't have said number 4 was my favorite. Number 5 is my favorite. Emotional stress. Do you see how much gray hair that I have? And do you happen to see in some of my videos that I like bourbon? I'm not condoning for anybody under the age of 21 or for anybody really to drink alcohol, but for me it takes the edge off, and it's something that I really enjoy from a flavor profile. But there's a ton of emotional stress in this position. You have to realize you are taking on the most stressful thing that a human can do as far as purchasing anything, right? It's the most stressful, usually the most expensive transaction they're gonna make in their entire life, and they are a ball of nerves, expecting that you, the professional, are going to hold them up, hold their hand, and take them across the finish line with a smooth road and no issues, which is completely BS. That's not the way it works. We tell people in the beginning of a transaction with us, I'm going to sell your house for the most amount of money in the shortest period of time that I possibly can, and iron out as many wrinkles as I possibly can before they become a wrinkle. But that doesn't mean that it's not gonna be stressful, because it's real estate and every single transaction is different. But you need to be able to handle that emotional stress as well. And one of the ways we do that, not the alcohol, is a outlet. You need to have some way to really de-stress and shut your phone off and go do something that's going to replenish you and bring you back as 100%. For me, that's surfing. It is the only thing I can do where the phone doesn't come with me. I'm a better human, a better husband, a better father, a better realtor, a better business partner when I surf than when I don't. When I get in that water and it clears my head, I come back rejuvenated as a better person. So that's my best advice to you, is if you are going to do this, make sure you handle the emotional stress by finding an outlet, and also just understanding that in the end, it's just money. Yes, in the moment, it feels like the whole world is crumbling if you lose an entire deal or a commission falls through or whatever it is, but money can always be remade. Your family and your relationships are way more important, so make sure that you're giving 100% of yourself to your family, and the deals will always count. So number 6 is market fluctuations. This is a really good topic right now because I think a lot of you are thinking about getting into real estate because we've had a boom for the last 3 or 4 years due to COVID. And we've had a really strong market for the last 8 or 9 years before that as well. So market fluctuations are real. The market doesn't always go from the bottom left to the top right. I had to do that backwards because, this thing. But real estate in general, over the long course, over the course of 50, 60 years, yes, we'll go bottom left to top right. It will always go up in value because we're not making any more of it. But there are little fluctuations that happen as any capitalistic market experiences. And what you need to understand is there are ways as a real estate agent to make money in both markets. So when you're selling in a market that's a strong seller's market like we have right now, which means we have way more buyers than there is inventory of homes on the market, that's a very different set of circumstances than when you have way more homes on the market than there are a number of buyers. And you do experience those pendulum swings over the course of usually a 10 to 12 year period of time. We will go from buyer's market to seller's market and then back again. What you need to understand is that it's not always going to be a seller's market. It's not always going to be a buyer's market. And the tools and the tricks you have in your bag are different depending upon what that market is. You need to be able to negotiate for your client to find the best situation as a buyer or seller in both of those markets. And you can't just depend on it always being good. Because in reality, in a good seller's market, it's not good for buyers. So you might be having a really hard time right now as a buyer's agent because you can't get deals accepted. And what we tell our agents is if you came into the market over the last 3 years and you're having a hard time making money because you've got so many buyers but not enough houses to sell them, I promise you, stick through it, stay in the business. You will see over the next handful of years when we get to a neutral or a buyer's market, you're all of a sudden going to be in control, and the seller's agents and the listing agents are going to be begging you for one of your buyers to come buy that house. So just understand there's a pendulum swing and there's market fluctuations, and the skill set you need to work in either of those is very different. So number 7 is the high startup cost. This is actually something that we were reading off another article that said this is one of the top 10 reasons that I wanted to bring up here because I actually disagree with it. I get it. Not everybody has the same amount of money. So even the $1,500 or so to get started up as a real estate agent might be expensive for somebody. But when you look at what it costs to start this business compared to almost any other business that's out there, this is really, really inexpensive to start a real estate career. And that's one of my biggest complaints I have about it is I think that the barrier to entry is too low in this career. And that is why there are so many people who get into this business and don't treat it professionally, don't actually get the right education to do the business the right way, and really give realtors a bad name because if they don't approach it the right way, they don't put the education in, they don't spend the right amount of money, they don't get the right skill set to take care of a client the way that they should be, then that's what the public experiences. And that's why realtors get a bad name, in my opinion, is that there's too many bad realtors out there because it was too inexpensive to get in or so inexpensive to stay licensed. I think real estate, although we have continuing education credits that are required of you as well, I think real estate agents should be required to retake tests and continue to prove your ability, just like I think octogenarians should have to retake a driving test, because just because you passed it when you were 17 doesn't mean when you're 84 you can still drive as well as you used to. Same thing applies for real estate. I think there needs to be less realtors in the business in order for the public to really understand what great realtors can do for them. So number 8 is regulatory compliance, and this is a real thing. So the National Association of Realtors oversees all of the real estate business in the country, and then each state has its own realty commission, which is under the banking and insurance division here in New Jersey. The rules relating to real estate are really serious, and they're for good reason too. As you go through your licensing course, you're going to learn about anti-discriminatory laws, and these are legit. You have to make sure that you are not discriminating against a whole variety of different people based on sex, gender, a whole bunch of other reasons. And that comes to how you're marketing every single day. So if you go on social media right now, you could probably find 25 realtors who are not abiding by compliant rules just because they're doing certain things on social media that they probably shouldn't be doing. And that's gonna catch up to people. So social media is still relatively new with how many people the compliance departments of companies or of the real estate commission can actually follow. But they're putting a lot of rules in place to make sure that they're cracking down on what realtors are doing on social media and what people are doing in marketing in general. Realtors get a bad name because there are some bad apples out there who don't do things the right way. Case in point, there's always realtors who are going to do pocket listings, which are legal. It's a way you do an off-market sale, but there's agents doing them for the wrong reasons because they want to get their buyer into that property and work both sides of the transaction rather than doing the best thing for the seller, which might be to publicly advertise that property, bring 5 to 10 buyers to that property and let them bid over the property. So there's always a right way and a wrong way to do things in everything, and that applies here in real estate as well. If you're getting into this career, I urge you to take your fiduciary interest, which is making sure that you take care of your client very, very seriously. If you do that, you will always have a career to lean back on, and there will always be more business coming your direction. Number 9 is limited benefits, and this is real. So when I left my corporate job and my wife left as well, and we went into real estate full on, we all of a sudden had to absorb a $24,000 a year healthcare benefit cost for taking care of my wife, me, and our 2 children, because we didn't have our corporate benefits anymore, and we still had to pay for vision and dental on top of that. As an independent contractor, which is what your agreement is as an agent, realtor, with whoever your broker is, you don't get benefits supplied to you from that broker. Sometimes you could join a team that might offer benefits, so that might be one thing you can look at when you're trying to figure out whether to start on your own or start a team. But generally speaking, you're gonna have to go out and get all of your own benefits. Now, if you're part of a big brokerage like Keller Williams, there's a marketplace where you might be able to have some bargaining power because they have so many people trying to get insurance benefits that they might have some additional power with certain insurance companies. But generally speaking, if you're used to corporate benefits, you're gonna have to pay them on your own, unless you still have one spouse who's employed with medical benefits. If that's the case, use theirs. Number 10 is awesome. Unpredictable transactions. This is 100% real. If you can't deal with unpredictable income and transactions, don't get started. Seriously, just go find something else to do. Case in point, right before we started filming this, I just had a deal fall apart that was supposed to close in 7 days. This is just what happens. Sometimes despite your best effort, your best negotiating, taking care of your client, both people wanting to do the right thing, sometimes things just don't work out. And you have to understand you are not working for the commission. You're working for the client. If you're constantly worried about making sure you get paid, we call that commission breath. If you're constantly working for commission and not working for the client, that comes across and they can feel that just exuding out of your pores. You have to understand there's gonna be roller coasters to this. Some deals are gonna close and some aren't. There's things you can do to bulletproof your transaction, and that comes with getting better at your craft as you continue in this career. But there's gonna be unpredictability to this, and that's something especially prevalent in the beginning of this. You're gonna do 3 to 5 transactions in your first year. Maybe 1 or 2 of them is not gonna close. And then next year, maybe you do 10 to 12. And maybe 3 of those fall apart. You have to be willing to roll with the punches. And I think the point I really want to make here is, if you're not the type of person that can handle rejection, then don't get into this job, because rejection is real. You might go to that listing appointment and absolutely crush it, and then walk out of there and find out they hired the realtor who had no experience. And that's just the way it goes. Sometimes it's about who they know, not how good you are. And that took a lot for me to deal with in the beginning, because I knew how much work I put into my craft. And I knew that I was better than the person that they hired from a skill set perspective. But in the end, the customer was more comfortable with that other realtor. So how do I make myself become more comfortable to the client? And that's part of your job, in addition to just being a technically sound agent. The better you get at all those things, the more predictable your income will be. So if you're still here, it means you haven't given up on the idea yet, despite my best efforts to hammer you into the ground and not become a realtor. But the good news is there are some great reasons to be a realtor. And if you're still hanging around watching this, I assume you're willing to give this a shot. For me personally, I would do no other career than this. I have fallen in love with it, and I find that so surprising, because if you knew me before I got into real estate, you might have found this really surprising. I am an introvert, first of all. I don't do really well in big groups of people, but I can turn it on for business, and that works really well for me. But I also was never a natural salesperson. I'm a very quiet person. I enjoy small groups. I don't like speaking out in big groups of people. I know that might sound weird to you because I'm standing here in front of the camera, and this is something I've worked at a lot, but I'm an introverted person. I don't like big crowds, and that's been okay because I found a way to make my sales style match that approach. So what I love about this is you get a changing scenery every day. You've got unique clients, and I left a career in medical sales that was predictable. I had a great salary, I had a limited amount of bonus that I could make, and it was capped every year. And then there was a quota that I had to hit, and if I hit that quota one year, the next year I got hammered because they saw how much money we made and they said, well, you need to do better next year, and it was unattainable. What I love about this career is this is truly uncapped income potential. I'm not saying it's easy to make a lot of money in this business, but the only thing holding you back from doing that is you. And that's my favorite thing, is as hard as I work, as smart as I work, that dictates what my income is. I also love the fact that I get to build my own business, and I get to hire people, and I get to provide opportunities for other people to create their best life in real estate by learning what I've learned and being able to teach them. It's a very rewarding career if you can approach it the way that you get out of it what it is you're trying to put into it. I love the fact that it's unlimited income potential, that I can teach people, that I can help other people live their best life. And in the meantime, I can provide generational wealth for my family through real estate, not just by selling homes, but also by investing in them because of the education that I've gained being a great realtor. So I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, I would really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button down below and like the video. It does a lot to support our channel. Now, if you're still deciding between which agency to join, or you have other general real estate questions about getting licensed, feel free to hit me up down below in the comments, and we'll certainly help you however we can. I love weighing in on new real estate agents' careers. And secondly, we have a course that's going to come out sometime in the next 12 months. That is our 3-month training program for our direct agents on the team that I'm going to make available to everybody else as a web course. So if you want to become part of the top 1% of realtors in the entire country and do it within a short time frame, this 3-month course will help you do that. So stay tuned. And if you're interested in that, hit course in the comments down below and we'll make sure we add you to our wait list. Thank you very much for watching. I can't wait to see you guys on the next one.